All right, welcome in everybody. I've got an exciting discussion for you planned today. I'm calling it really crypto class just because I think the information that you're going to get is really going to be like you sitting in a class and learning. This is one of those subjects that I love to talk about because there's so many different things changing in the world of money, and I think people within the church world don't spend enough time properly organizing their priorities to realize that no, we shouldn't worship money. No, we shouldn't chase after money. But it's a part of the systems that help to advance the kingdom and our assignment in the earth. So we have to put it in its proper place, which is realizing that money is just a tool to help you further your purpose in the earth. When you understand that, it changes everything. I spent most of my young life, growing up and young adult life in poverty. To be honest with you, most of you know the story because you've heard me share it. So I was broke, didn't have money, and I was stuck in a cycle. And what was worse for me is I actually believed that God didn't want me to have money or things, or I felt that that was just his plan and will for me, not just me, but for my family. One of the reasons is because every time we would begin to maybe find a path where we thought we could be comfortable or we could at least get out of poverty, the situation we were in, everything would always fall through. It never would go right. We could never break the cycle. And so the Lord used, I believe, my experiences to help me to teach others because I felt this is just the way it's going to be. It's the way it always is. Now, we have just a few of you in here now, and we're trying to get our whole mentorship class on in here as well. So they got the wrong time, but they're updating them on the right time now. So we're trying to get them in. So I'm stalling by sharing my experience growing up, but I think you're going to be able to learn from some of these things. It was a few years ago that God gave me a dream. I'm a dreamer. I started out as a dreamer before I ever could audibly hear the voice of God. I wasn't getting prophecies. There were no strong, words coming to me for anything in particular, but I would dream often. And I had a dream concerning a particular cryptocurrency, a coin. And in the dream, the Lord told me to invest in it. And this was some years ago. So I didn't know much about any of it. I didn't know anything about the space. I had never researched it. I didn't have any knowledge of it whatsoever. Some of you that have been following the ministry for some years, you know, because I've shared this with you a couple of years ago. But I had this dream about it, and I saw that I would invest in it, and then I saw in the dream literally the coin shoot up, and I saw what it went to and everything, and I was able to literally in this dream make a certain amount of profit off of it. The Lord was showing me a strategy on how to take out a portion to realize those profits and then leave in a portion as well for it to continue to hold in that particular currency. And so I got up from that dream and went on a journey. Now, I had friends and people, even people that I've trained prophetically, who I consider to be more economic prophets. For me, I go into that realm. I'm dealing with government. I'm dealing with the economy. The Lord speaks to me concerning the economy. One of the things that I told God back then, I said, well, I never want to learn anything about investing. I never want to learn anything about stocks. I don't want to learn anything about crypto. I just don't want to learn anything about it because I felt I didn't have to. I felt, well, there are people around me that I know they do that. If I ever need anything, I'm just going to go to them. And when I had this dream, I realized that I needed to know more about the space. And many of the things that I saw in the dream, I couldn't really give an explanation for it. I didn't know a background for it. So I had to go into research mode. I ended up pulling together a team that I called the Joseph Group. And we began to delve into this, I mean, fully diving into it. And I brought in people that I knew were experienced in it and began to share with them the dream that I had. And sure enough, they confirmed all of those things. And I began investing. And so one of the coins that I invested in or currencies is Bitcoin. And during that time, a couple to a few years ago, Bitcoin had dropped down. I mean, it was pretty low. And it was exactly a part of a dream that I had seen. And so I invested in it at that time where many people were experiencing this, this shakeup and saying something's wrong with crypto and we're getting away from the space. I was unfamiliar with a lot of what was going on at that time. I was just beginning to learn it. And I invested at that time, and I'm not sharing any financial advice with anybody. So I just want to let's go. We're gonna set the record straight on that, so you all don't come back and say he told us to do this. We got to put it over here. We're not doing that. But if you take anything from what I'm saying, feel free. But I invested in it at the time. And of course, just as the Lord showed me, it shot up. I saw it go to a specific number. And at the time, there was so much going on in that dream. At the time, it shot up to a place and there was panic. And in the dream, the Lord told me to take out X amount at the time. And so I was able to do that. But there was such panic because people were trying to get their money out and couldn't get their money out. Now, again, this was some years ago before we ever saw any of that happen. None of this had happened. It wasn't a thing where people, in mass could not get money out of. Maybe we'll touch on that in a little bit. But I shared this dream with several people and within the group that I was with and that I had started, and we literally saw things play out. And we saw since that time people make a lot of money, including myself, in the crypto space. I'm one of those people that I believe that God gives us ideas for us to create in the secular world to bring into the church, meaning our money is not necessarily coming from those in the four walls of the church. We have to think outside of the box, and we can help build and further the kingdom by what we're able to do with a business mind. When I look at scripture, I see God speaking in business terms. Many of the terms that he's using in New Testament, even in Old Testament, when he's speaking to his people saying, I'm going to take you to a land flowing with milk and honey. He's speaking about prime real estate. Not only is he speaking about real estate, he's telling them about what the economy is going to be like in that place, how they're going to be able to make their money, what business is going to be like for them. Because when he deals with the land flowing with milk and honey, he's talking about the cattle. He's also talking about the type of honey that they would make in ancient Israel was from palm trees. And so it's actually date honey. So it wasn't speaking about bees necessarily, but it was date honey. So he was talking about how they were going to be able to thrive in that space. In the New Testament, Jesus gives several parables, and it's all business terms. The master of the house, he gives talents. He tells them to invest the talents. What are they going to do with them after? And so God, I believe, equips us with this business mind so that we can not only profit for ourselves, but so that we can help other people. It's all about how we've been placed here on this earth to help someone else. And it's impossible for us to fully help people when we don't have anything. And so many of you are on here, and I believe that over the course of the next several months and years, that many of you that will take the biblical principles for finance, you're going to see your entire economy shift and change forever. Now, I'm getting ready to bring on our guest, but I want to read just a section of something that I wrote that I believe it really kind of hits for right now. This is, of course, y'all know I've been reading out of this book because so many things are happening. So this is out of my prophetic forecast book, but I want to read this because we're going to use this to kind of set the tone for where we're going. Page 81, it says, there will be a time in the near future where the money systems as we know it will be completely changed. Digital currencies will run the world. The US dollar will no longer be the leading currency. I wrote this a few years ago. And the world's economies will be in travail. It says, but the Lord showed me that before all these things occur, that we were going to see the literal faces on American money begin to change. That happened like 2 years ago, where they actually passed that bill and have began doing that. And then I want to read another section concerning cryptocurrency and the stock market. It says, in a vision from God about monetary systems changing, I saw a deconstruction coming to the cryptocurrency market. It says the period of deconstruction will cause many losses in the markets. Money will be changing hands. This will not just be another dip or decline. God said to me, it's a deconstruction to bring forth a reconstruction. Over the next several years, again, this was written a few years ago. Over the next several years, you will see more regulations placed on the cryptocurrency space. But the Lord said to me, look to the future, because You're going to see that market expand. Cryptocurrencies will become the wave of the future. It will become more and more normal for people to make purchases with its coins. New altcoins and meme coins will arise, and their emergence will baffle those who have their eyes on the market. It says the entire crypto system is being overhauled behind the scenes. New prominent players in the space will come to the forefront. The Asian nations will lead in this space. It will take the wisdom of God to navigate these changes in order for your investments to be unscathed. And I'll stop right there. But I'm excited because we're going to talk about all this and so much more. And I want to bring on somebody that I met not too long ago at a summit that I was doing in DC. Some of you all were at that DC summit, which we're still getting people that are sending in messages about how their mindset was changed and what God did for them. But this was somebody that I saw. I believe he came up to me after one of the sessions and introduced himself and started sharing with me a little bit about what he does. And we were in maybe a part of the service, I don't know, and I really felt led to have him just kind of chime into the conversation there in DC. And he did that. And I was really impressed with what he's doing. He has started his own. And let me get some of the information right. My team has sent me some things. I want to make sure I get some of this right. I know you've started a company called Blockchain, where you've started your own blockchain network. And I'm excited to talk to you a little bit more about it. So let's welcome on Jordan Harold. Welcome on, sir. How you doing?
Hey, what's going on? I'm happy to be on here. Thank you for having me.
I'm glad you're on here, man, as well. I've got a lot to talk to you about, and I'm
Absolutely.
excited to get into it. On my screen, your screen is a little blurry, but we can still hear you, which is good. And I'm
Okay.
not sure if the people in the comments may be seeing the same thing, but we're going to talk this through because we got to get this good information. So I want you to just tell me a little bit about your background. How did you get started? And tell us a little bit about what you do.
Okay. Yeah. So my background primarily, to be honest with you, I was always actually an athlete. I've been an athlete from the time growing up, even since a little child. But my mother instilled different things in me growing up that let me know that it's important to build wealth. Right. She taught me a couple of different things in that realm. She's done a lot in that regard. So my eyes opened up. But I would say when I was in college at the University of Missouri, while I was playing football, I got into investing. I got into stocks. And one of the things I invested in was cryptocurrency. And that was something at the time I really didn't know the weight of what I was invested in. I didn't know the fullness of what I was investing in. But later on, I saw it. Right. So years go by, and I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. So I built the fitness and mental health business. I even started training a lot of the affluent. And in training the affluent, I got a lot of different things from them. I received a lot. I got more into the stock market. I got into options, trading, etc. And what ended up happening is one of my investments blew up. And from it blowing up, and it was cryptocurrency. And a lot of us may know that coin. You may have heard of it. It was actually Dogecoin. Bitcoin is definitely the coin, but Dogecoin is something that blew up for me, and that was something that allowed me to dive into it more. And I went deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's led me here today to even talk to you guys about blockchain.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Just to hear. So you started out playing for a sports team, football, D1, from what I heard. Uh,
Yes, absolutely. That's actually a crazy story in itself because I left a Division II full ride and took a leap of faith. End up going to the University of Missouri. I was sixth string, and in the year I started. God has moved greatly in my life. And I'm
Wow,
grateful.
man, and just to see how you started out there and then God orders your steps
Yeah.
to get you to where you are right now. And thank God, I know sometimes we plan out the way we want things to go in life and how we think it's going to happen. Good, man. Your screen just got a lot clearer there, so I can see you clear. Um,
Okay, perfect.
but we
Perfect.
we plan out the way we want things to go and the way we think it should happen, and many times it doesn't happen that way. and we get rerouted in life. And sometimes that can be discouraging for people. But if we trust God's plan, He's going to lead you to where you need to be. And so I'm
Mhm.
grateful that your steps were ordered here because, man, we're going to pick your brain today.
Please do.
Um,
Yeah, please do. It's definitely an honor. To one, got to give honor to my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and then just want to give honor to you for bringing me on here, doing the Kingdom Government Summit. It impacted me greatly. I serve at a ministry in West Palm Beach, at Operation Kingdom International, under the leadership of Apostle Linda Collymore. And we've had some conversations like this, but I think the massivity of what you're doing and the gravity of it, and spreading knowledge like this is super important to the kingdom because it literally it speaks to kingdom economics. It speaks
absolutely.
to what we want to do. It speaks the blockchain itself is made for community and especially the kingdom community. And I think that's a
Yeah.
big thing.
Absolutely, man, and I'm excited too because you speaking my language when you start talking about kingdom economics. When you're
Yeah.
talking about the economy, I think the church as a whole does not deal with kingdom economics enough, and I
Yeah.
think a lot of people are afraid to touch it. They're afraid of the money conversation. They don't want to deal with it. Church people close up a little bit when you start talking
Yeah.
about money, but we need to know this because it's like the Bible says, the children of this world, many times they're wiser than we are. And it
Wow.
shouldn't be that way. We have all of this Holy Spirit running through us, living in us. But yet
Yeah.
at the same time, we miss out on opportunities in the world to affect change and to be a part of the movement that's happening so that we can then further the kingdom of God and our purpose in the earth. And I'm grateful because this conversation, I think, is going to help really shut down a lot of misinformation, but then give the right knowledge that people need. So I want to start with asking you this. Tell me why you think people should get into the crypto space.
The crypto space is so important because it speaks to everything that's going to happen in the future. I think that even prophetically speaking, a lot of different things that you said, in your books, in your messages, but even as we just see the world continue to just shift into this technological space, all of the advancements, I think even at the Kingdom Government Summit, we spoke about AI, we spoke about so much. So as we continue to transition, cryptocurrency is exactly that. All it is the new technology for currency. Is exactly we see fiat currency, which is a cash, but that in turn is becoming obsolete due to just the system of that we're under, and we're moving into a new system that is going to allow for more power for the community. And if we don't understand this power, we'll get left behind. And I think that's the biggest thing.
So then tell me this, why is decentralized finance important? And where do you see the future of this going?
Yeah, decentralized finance is important just because it makes things easier.
And
There's not a
explain
lot.
what it is if you can explain it to people that are beginners and don't know. Yeah.
Absolutely. So decentralized finance. So we all understand financial literacy, and it's funny as you say it. We talk about DeFi literacy, what is decentralized financial literacy, and all that means is it is outside of government control and is outside of financial institutions. So that means that we have the power to do finance, right, on a level that's outside of control, right? So we don't have to be monitored, we don't have to be controlled. This is something that we could do, and we can do it inclusively and together. So decentralized finance allows for a more um, democratic or inclusive economy for us to come together and work, but also allow us to do different things. And an example of that would be if I were to loan you any type of money, all we would do is put it in a smart contract. And instead of all these stipulations and taking all this time to get stuff situated, in an instant, because of the smart contract, which is a digital code, the collateral is taken up immediately if anything was to happen. Right. So it's so important to understand that it makes it easier. It takes away the fluff, it takes away confusion, and it brings back trust and circulation into communities that may not have had it before.
Right.
Much, yeah, much like the black community, right? Much the dollar circulates less than I think less than one time right now. So the job is to make sure that we bring that trust back where everybody can be inclusive in it, and that we can all involve ourselves in this economy
Yeah.
using decentralized finance.
Yeah, that's great. I love the way you put it because right now, up to this point, for most of the world, their financial state, their condition, their personal economy is dependent on the nation or government that they're under. So if
Yeah,
you live in a certain country, like for instance, if we live in America, it doesn't matter if you have amassed millions of dollars. If the economy collapses in this nation, and I've given words about this and I've gotten a lot of flack about it. I don't really care because one thing that I am really endeavoring to do is to share the word of the Lord that He releases me to share, and then to also equip people on how to deal with it when those things begin to happen. And so, if, for example, and prayerfully it won't happen, but I've seen these things in the realm of the spirit occur. But if you're living in a nation like America and the economy collapses, it doesn't matter if you've got millions of dollars saved up, that money is then devalued. And that
yeah,
means it is obsolete. I was actually in Zimbabwe some years ago. I was in a tour. I had done a tour and a preaching tour in Africa, different parts of Africa. And my spiritual father lives in Zimbabwe. I went there with him and I saw the level of poverty was insane. I
man.
I I was like I couldn't prepare myself for that level of poverty. Now there are plenty of countries in Africa that are very wealthy, they're rich, they are really proficient in technology, but in
Yes.
this particular area, their economy collapsed.
Wow,
So $1 million or a million in their currency, should I say, was less than a penny. I mean, it
wow,
didn't even they actually had a framed $1 billion bill for them, a
wow,
$1 billion bill in their currency that was worth less than a penny. And
wow,
the people went to nothing. You're talking about crazy poverty, and my bishop shares his testimony. That's where he lives. That's where his church is. They lost everything during that. They
wow.
lost everything. And so, one of the reasons why I share these things is because you can always come through hard times and situations as long as you know God and you can depend on Him, just like what happened for them. You can build it all back up, and they did. But for people that are wondering, why are you sharing these things? Why is it, are you fear mongering? Are you trying to make us? No, this is not about fear. It's about preparation. And I believe that the highest degree of faith is preparation.
Amen.
So when we talk about DeFi or decentralized finance, it's taking the power away from certain banking institutions and certain governments where you're no longer dependent on whatever happens in that country does not determine the value of the currency that you have. And
Yeah,
that's why the crypto space, I believe, is the wave of the future. And we're going to see more come out of that. So I want to kind of talk to you a little bit more about this. We've got people here who are beginners in this, and then we've got those who have been investing. So if you're on here, just type in the comments if you're already familiar with the space. Just say I've already invested. Just let me know. But I want you to add your just strategies for them on what can they do to become more strategic investors or to really grow in this space.
yeah. I think the first step is always going to be education. It's always going to be education when you dive into this space, because if you don't know what you're investing in, it's not a good investment, right? But if you have just a couple small details about maybe a specific cryptocurrency, like i.e. Bitcoin, I think we'll go over that pretty soon. But if you have a couple details, there's some things about Bitcoin that tell me, just from that knowledge and what we're seeing in the world and what we're seeing with psychology, the psychology of the market, it tells me that I can invest a little bit in there a time at a time, right? We even talk about scriptural references and Proverbs. It talks about gathering money little by little, because as long as you invest, right, we understand that if you sow, you will reap. That's a principle that we talk about in the Bible. So if I sow on good ground and I know that is great, is good ground, right? And I just take my time with it. You don't have to dump a whole lot of money in it. We have a lot of time, right? Now there are other cryptocurrencies that you do have to be careful of. You don't just throw money in everything, because there are a lot of people that are literally snatching money. They're running off. It is decentralized finance, and I'm going to tell you the risk factors, because I don't want you to go in there willy nilly, just investing in whatever. because people are creating stuff that have no use case. And that's the biggest thing in this space. What is this being used for? Just like any currency, when we talk about the dollar, we all agree to use it. We all agree to accept it. And the government said it is valuable. That's the only reason we use it. So
Right.
when we look at cryptocurrency, you want to look at the same thing. We hear everybody talking about Bitcoin. We know that the big banks are investing in Bitcoin. It makes perfect sense that that's where value is going. So it's
Right.
only smart to invest in it. Another great thing is, how about the supply, right? Because we know that the dollar is printed every single day. So inflation is inevitable. So the value continues to go down. But when we talk about Bitcoin, there's only 21 million ever created. There will never be any more Bitcoin created after that. So that means that it's deflationary. So the more people go to it, the more valuable it becomes. So these are a couple different things you want to look at, but most importantly, just if you understand the basics about this space and you understand the coins that are being used primarily, again, it's all about usage. When I invest in a stock, I'm going to look at the owner. I want to know what they're doing with the company. I want to know their plans for the future. Just like anything you invest in, you want to look at cryptocurrencies the same way. And if you do that, I promise you, you'll be successful. Bitcoin, again, is not financial advice, but it's going up.
Yeah.
I will tell you, and it continues to go up. It continues to climb consistently. That is something that you have the biggest banks in the world, the biggest financial institutions, BlackRock, all these different. They're investing in it. Even the banks that told you not to invest in it, they're all investing in it. So
Right.
that's a place that I tell anybody: listen, $20 a week. $20 a week. How about instead of going out, sacrifice lunch with your friends, sacrifice lunch, on your break time, and just put it in Bitcoin. And in a couple of years, see what happens.
Yeah.
I had a couple of people do that, and they were very happy with the results.
Yeah.
And because in an example of that, I learned that in a company like Apple, now Bitcoin itself is one of the top 10 assets in the world now, right? By market capitalization. And Apple is also in that same list. But when
Right.
we talk about Apple, this is a crazy statistic that I learned, Apostle. And the statistic was this: it said that if you would have invested $500 in an Apple each month from the year 2000 to 2020, the amount of money you would have made would have been $32 million.
Wow.
That's
Wow.
a simple investment each month.
Yeah.
If you just take your time with it and you continue to see something spike how it's spiking, just do it little by little.
Yeah.
Right now, it's better than a retirement fund. I can tell you that.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you're speaking on this because you mentioned there are a lot of scams when it comes to Bitcoin. And that's why you're telling them, look at, who created it, what is the intent of it, what's the history of it. You got to track the pattern. You don't just jump into something. When I train people in mentorship, I'm always telling them, don't invest what you can't lose. So you
Absolutely.
don't take your whole paycheck and dump it over into a coin unless you know what you're doing with that. Uh,
Right.
but you really got to know what you're doing. Now, Bitcoin. Some people are asking, but Bitcoin is really the father coin of the cryptocurrency space. It was the first one in the space, and it's looked at almost like the epicenter. So whatever happens with Bitcoin affects all the other altcoins or
Absolutely.
the other coins in the crypto space. That's why it's a lot more secure to invest in Bitcoin. If you're beginning, if you're starting, that's a good one to go to, but it's not the only one. And there are other coins that have other altcoins that have kind of risen at times, shot up from nothing.
Yes.
And you can make money, as you mentioned, Dogecoin, and then there are others. But I do want to go a little bit further in this, and some of you, if you're beginners, I want to ask this question. We're speaking about Bitcoin being that father coin. Ethereum, I believe, is close behind that, and is even being projected that Ethereum is going to eventually surpass the growth level of Bitcoin. I'll say
Mhm.
it that way.
Yeah.
Which for me, I'm invested in all of the above. So and I
Right.
have been for years. I'm a little bit more of a huddler where I will invest and I'm leaving it there.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to move based on the trends, the ups and downs, because I know, like you mentioned, banks are now getting behind Bitcoin because they realized they gotta jump into this now, or
Yeah,
either they're going to be left behind. So they're now jumping into this as well. And
yeah,
so I have invested in and have made literally in the space hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars that I have from those investments in cryptocurrency. And I'm being transparent. I'll at least leave it there. But there are many people that are making that and then some and have made even more. But I want to ask this question for beginners. What is the safer platforms for them to invest in? If somebody doesn't know anything and they want to start today, they're saying, okay, I got a little bit extra money over here and I'm listening to you. You said I could take $20, $100, 200. Where they know nothing. Where do I go? What platform, what wallet, what do I use?
yeah. I mean, you hear a lot of people when they get into this space, when you talk about safety, that's one thing because there you have these things called exchanges, right? And these exchanges are your Coinbase, your crypto.com, those types of platforms. And I think for beginners getting into it, those things are great. But when it comes to your bigger wallets, so to speak, I always it's okay to purchase on these platforms. It very much is. Even the U.S. government, I believe something came out a couple of days ago that they transferred billions of dollars into Coinbase. And usually, when you transfer that amount of money into Coinbase, you're going to liquidate it. So when you're on these, and they got that from the Silk Road. So for those that don't know, Silk Road was like the black market, and cryptocurrency has been around for a long time, a long, long time, even before it came out. But it wasn't in the best of places, right? That's why it wasn't brought to light until as of late. But the U.S. government sees so much, and that's why they did that. But when it comes to Coinbase, these platforms allow you to liquidate a lot faster. They allow you to do that. The thing is, once you get to certain heights in cryptocurrency, I think that even the exchanges still have a little bit too much control because they even have something came out about Coinbase a couple years ago about like fine print. They're saying if anything was to happen, they can utilize your currency. Right now, these are just things for you to know, right? It's not like that they're just stealing people's money, at least from what we know, right, on the surface level. But these are places that you where you can go and you can get Bitcoin immediately. I mean, you can go to Cash App and get Bitcoin, believe it or not. And we sow that way into church by using Cash App. We just send Bitcoin sometimes. We may send another cryptocurrency. But with that being said, you have Trust Wallet, you have MetaMask, you have these different platforms, and they're all you have exchanges and you have wallets. Um, and the wallet is where you hold your crypto, and the exchange is you can also hold your cryptocurrency there, but that's primarily where you buy it. So you have Binance, you have a couple of different places you can go, and they're all and to me a lot of them are all the same. You have more popularity, but there's definitely a safer way. But for beginners, definitely just go to you can definitely use Coinbase, right? So I don't want to tell you not to use it. You can use crypto.com, you can use Binance, you can do that. You can definitely do that. And for those that are that have a little bit more crypto, I suggest you go get a cold wallet, right? They have a cold wallet to where you can actually hold it on what looks like a USB hard drive.
Yeah, I was going to ask you to explain what that is
Yeah,
for some of them,
yeah.
and I
So
second that. I'm
yeah,
definitely
yeah. So a cold wallet actually looks just like this. Okay, so I have one that looks just like this. Say so a cold wallet, they have like a Ledger Nano. That's the one that I have to where you can actually store your cryptocurrency there. And all that means is that it is not connected to the internet, right? So you literally have it on this file until you connect it and you want to actually exchange it, right, or send it or have do a transaction. No one will have access to it except for you. That is, and then what we call that is your private keys. On an exchange like Coinbase, they have access to your private keys. They got access to it, right? So it just makes it a little bit more riskier if anything was to happen. Like I said, the fine print type of thing. Okay, so if you somebody that's a big player in cryptocurrency right now, I suggest you get a cold wallet. Just especially the cryptocurrency that you don't want to liquidate, that you just want to keep and store. Please get a cold wallet, and it's just best for you moving forward. It really is.
Absolutely. I think you're
Yeah.
answering these questions so well. And
Yeah.
it also gives those of you that are watching, I'm keeping this recording up. You can go back and listen to this again. So this means that if you are hearing certain things that are being put out there, maybe you're not catching it as quickly. It's
Right.
okay. The recording is going to be there. You go back and listen to it again, take notes, do your own search. Go ahead and, you're hearing certain things. You're hearing about Trust Wallet, Coinbase, and Binance,
Yeah.
and all these different ones, MetaMask, which I've had all of them and have
Yeah.
used all of them. But and then if you're also hearing about a safer way to hold your money where hackers are not able to get into it, I think that's the biggest thing with a wallet in the way that you are. The wallet that you're talking about, a hacker can't necessarily get into it as easily. Whereas if you're holding it in Coinbase, or if you're holding it in one of those other platforms, it can more easily be hacked, meaning somebody
Absolutely.
could get in and steal what you have. And I've seen it happen to many people.
Yeah.
So again, this is valuable information that you guys need to know. Now, I want to go here, Jordan. So tell me, man, we are approaching this month the halving of
Yes.
Bitcoin, which is around, I believe, April 20th, somewhere around there. So
Yes.
can you tell me your thoughts on, first of all, explain what is the Bitcoin halving, and
Yeah.
then explain what this means for those of us that are investing in Bitcoin specifically?
Yeah. So I'm gonna yeah, I want to make this very simple. The Bitcoin halving is exactly what it sounds like. But so what happens is Bitcoin is mined. We heard this term mine, right? Or mining. Anybody may have heard this term. All that means is they're pulling more Bitcoin into circulation, right? Or they're creating more to pull it into circulation. What happens is the amount of Bitcoin that is pulled into circulation at a time gets cut in half every 4 years. That is the halving cycle when it comes to Bitcoin. So, what does that do? It makes it more scarce, right? And it makes Bitcoin more valuable because the last time it was, I think right now you may get like 3.5 for right now, maybe less, right? Maybe even mistaken, but it went to I got the exact numbers on it, but it was like 12 is cut in half, and every 4 years it gets cut in half. So that means that this cycle is going to get cut in half. So there will not be as much Bitcoin as available. And again, guys, when we talk about that, this halving is completely different. Why is it different? Because we have these big financial institutions investing in them. They're throwing loads of money in them. It's not like any other halving. This is the first time this has happened. So, in every time after a halving, Bitcoin goes up, it skyrockets. In 12 to 18 months, that thing always goes up. But again, this time is different. We just have not seen this. BlackRock, I mean, even Fidelity. I mean, you have so many different financial institutions and people investing into cryptocurrency or into Bitcoin specifically that this thing is going to go up, right? Robert Kawasaki said 100,000 by June, right? I think in 18 months we could see 150. You know, some people are saying 300,000. And as it continues to go forth just like this with the cycle at this rate, I believe we can see a million by 2030 per one Bitcoin. And as we look at this, that's something that definitely take it. And again, guys, this is basic supply and demand. When a demand is high for something and everybody's talking about it, and they have this thing called the greed to fear index in crypto. Right now, the radar is on greed, and all that means is everybody's bullish, everybody wants it, right? The fear index is when it goes down and everybody's scared of crypto because the price dropped, right? But all this stuff plays into a factor that Bitcoin it's going to continue to grow. You getting in is on, I believe, is only good for you. It's not financial advice, but again, little by little, is still good. But
Yeah,
that's
no,
what the halving is in a nutshell.
I
Yeah.
agree, and I'm so glad we're having this conversation. I'm over here excited. I might not be showing it, but I'm really excited.
Yeah.
This is the stuff that I've been some years ago I was seeing, and you're hearing it, but I didn't have the language. I didn't know enough about the space. And then once I started studying it and getting around people, some of them that I mentored and trained, but they had really delved into it.
Yes.
This is different. This halving that we're coming up on. everybody's talking about it. If you're in the crypto space, even outside of that space, people are looking at what's going to happen with this. What I want to encourage people to do is to not be short-sighted when it comes to investing, because many people have a mindset of, I just want to put something in and get something out real quick.
Yeah.
And I just, and I get it. I know that there are many of you on here that probably do day trading and you do certain things, and that's your approach and maybe your strategy to it. I want to encourage people to think long term, to think, let me invest in this and only invest what you are willing to lose. That's always a good strategy. Not that I'm telling you you're going to lose, but you don't want to take your life savings right now and put it over into something, because you've got to have enough financial security that when you place money in a coin or in a crypto space, if it does go down for a period, you can't panic and be, just completely in fear. So that's why you don't put your whole life savings in, because
Right.
if it goes down, if you see it dip, because these things happen, they're going down and then it shoots up, goes down for some months and then it comes up. So this is why you got to think long term, which is why Jordan is mentioning in 18 months, I believe this will happen. In 2 years or in 5 years, I
Yeah.
think this will happen. So you're thinking beyond your now and you're thinking about your future. You're thinking about the future for your children, your children's children, being able to have an inheritance for them. This is the way we have to think. Now, I believe that there are key players that have gotten into the space, different organizations, different even countries that have gotten in. This is my personal belief, that there are those that have intentionally tried to push the average person out of the space.
Yes.
And so if you can, and I don't want to go too far in it, but things can be manipulated. Markets can be manipulated. Things can happen if you take a certain amount of money out. If you put a certain amount in, you're going to see fluctuations come in that system. But I believe that what some entities have tried to do over the past couple of years is drive the average person out of the space, because they know you need the money. We need the money. If you put a certain amount in, and you see it going down, you're looking at your money starting to, drop. And it's like, I need that. So a lot of people took money out of crypto prematurely. They
Yes.
took it out when they should have never taken it out. They should have left it in. And if they would have left it in, then they would have eventually seen profit that would have come. So during the time that, I've invested in different coins, so many of the coins that you guys are mentioning, Shiba Inu, all of those coins, I've made money and seen profit off of those, but there were periods where they were plummeting. And
Yes.
I did not experience a loss because I didn't realize it, meaning I did not take my money out. I'm leaving it in, or there were different ones that I had to pivot and change some things on. But I'm saying all this to say, let's think long term with this. Let's think, even maybe 18 months,
Yes.
out, or a couple of years. So don't look at this and think I'm going to invest right now and I'm gonna pull it out next week. Let's not look at it in that way,
Right.
because I don't think you're going to be able to make as much as you could make if you have a long-term strategy. You're going to be able to do more. So I want to ask you about this, and you can chime in on any of this, man. If you,
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
but I want to ask you about this. I know you mentioned BlackRock. So the CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, said that tokenization will be the next generation for the markets. And
Man.
we see that they recently unveiled their tokenized asset fund. Can
Yeah.
you talk about this?
Yeah. I always say I've actually spoken about tokenization over the past like 3 or 4 years. And I think the biggest thing with that, it's a term I coined called industrial tokenization. And what that means is that every industry will be tokenized. And we actually showcased this last year in something called the NFT Fashion Showcase. We had a conference with people talking about financial literacy, credit, everything, right? But in the middle of that conference, we wanted to show how this space is real, it's tangible, because it's all about education. So we had actual fashion designs going down the runway.
I
that
saw
were,
this. I
yeah,
looked on your page and I saw this, man. I thought it was so out of the box. I
yeah.
thought it was brilliant because I had to research you once I met you at
Well,
Summit.
I
I
appreciate
looked
it.
at all your stuff. I'm like, they doing a fashion show in the middle of this?
Yeah, rightfully so. But yeah, we did that because we wanted to show people this is tangible. It's not just some JPEG or some picture, right? It's an actual thing you can hold in your hand. But that's everything. People are tokenizing houses, right? So we're talking about assets being tokenized, meaning the house that you and I may be in right now can be broken down into tokens and liquidated immediately.
Hmm.
Um, and it's
Explain that. Can
all,
you talk about that a little bit more? Like, explain
yeah.
what you mean.
So what I mean is just like shares, just like you have businesses that are broken down in stocks or shares, right? It's the same way tokenization works. The difference is it makes it a lot more liquid faster, and it includes the world economy, not just meaning anybody with a internet connection can participate in investing. And I think that's a very big thing for the world and for anybody. And that means that I can invest in a house. I can, if the value of the house goes up, guess what? So will my tokens. Different things of that nature that allows it to be liquid. You have different things. We may walk into a coffee shop sooner or later into the future, and I believe this will happen. And we're going to pull out our cold wallet and we're going to pay for coffee. They actually have a video. I mean, I forget where it was. I believe it was actually in El Salvador. I believe that's the place where Bitcoin is the currency.
It is.
And yeah, yeah, and they're doing these things. So it's like when you talk about tokenization, is really just, I mean, for us, it's going to be a mental shift because they've already been doing it. I mean, we
It's
don't
already
really,
happening. That's what I was
yeah,
gonna say too.
yeah,
You can already go into your local movie, theater and buy your movie tickets with cryptocurrency. You
yeah,
can actually go into different, if you wanna buy a car, there are dealerships that will now take, cryptocurrency for you to
right,
purchase your car, which is amazing, but I'm so glad you brought that up
yeah.
because and not to cut you off, so I don't want you to lose any thought that you
No,
had.
it's okay.
I want you to give all of it, man. But you mentioned El Salvador. I believe they are the first country to adopt Bitcoin as their national currency. So
Yes,
they no longer have a currency that's just their nation's currency. They've adopted Bitcoin, and I think there are a couple other nations that are following suit that they're kind of looking at now, which means that when they go in, as you just mentioned, to purchase food or whatever, they're using that, which takes us into the future
yes,
because there is no paper money for it. There is no, you can't pull out a $20, bill for it. You're really utilizing your devices, utilizing maybe your phone,
yeah,
utilizing whatever wallet that you have or whatever system that's there that you can scan or pay. Which brings us into, I don't want to go all the way into the whole beast system thing in the
yeah,
future, but I
yeah.
do believe that this is a part of that system. And God said this to me some years ago. I was praying and kind of preparing to share certain things, and the Lord started speaking to me about the coming one world currency.
Mm,
And he said to me that the prophecy teachers have had it all wrong. And I said, God, what? And I was writing this stuff down and I put some of
mm,
it in this book. So he was like, the prophecy teachers have had it all wrong. He said they assumed that it was one currency in a sense of just this universal one bill that everybody uses, or it's got the face of just one man on it. But and I am pushing cryptocurrency right now, so I don't want to bring the downside up too much. But I do believe that the way the enemy wants to use it is the one world currency system is a group of currencies. It is
mm,
what I believe a system more so than just a currency in the way that we've seen it, like the dollar
yeah,
or the Chinese currency that they use. I believe it is this system that is being developed for that. Now, we as the kingdom of light, we have an opportunity to use it to advance purpose and the things that God has given us. The enemy is going to use it for whatever he wants to use it for, but we cannot abdicate our position in the space. We can't look at it and say, "Oh, well, that's just demonic," and run from it. I believe that we have just as much of a part to play
Yes.
in making sure that the message of the gospel, helping people in our community. Some of you that are watching this, you've been given visions, you got promises from God that you're going to build housing for people.
Yes.
This might be one of the avenues that you will use to do it. Some of you've got vision in you. You got stuff that the Lord's been showing you. You're like, God, how am I going to get the money to do that? I've seen millionaires made in this space. Now,
Yes.
there are two different spaces that I push hard. One of them is real estate because that's where I made a good bulk of my money. Most of the
Mhm.
people think that I probably made it from preaching, but I'll tell you this: people do pay me well now. But back when, most of the time that I was preaching, people didn't give me hardly anything.
Right.
We would get $1. You go in. I remember preaching at this one place, Jordan, and I gave out my whole heart. I preached until I have nothing left and then pray for everybody in that room. I mean, I felt I was so like dog tired is what we call. I was so
Yeah.
tired that I couldn't barely walk out of the place. And the pastor came up to me and said, uh, wow, you blessed us so much. They said, we don't even know how to repay you. They said, we already gave you this honorarium. Give us the envelope back. Give it back to us. We got to add more to it. And they went and added something else in there to the envelope. And I said, God, I know you about to bless me because
Yeah, yeah,
and I
yeah,
was so immature back then. This was years ago. But I said, God, I know. They took the envelope back. They said, we gotta add something into it because you have really blessed the house. Man,
yeah.
I got the envelope in my hand. It was like burning a hole in my pocket. So I walked to the car and I'm like trying not to look at it in front of people. I'm like, let me just play it cool. And then I'm gonna sit in there. Y'all, I was very young. So I sat in
Yeah.
the car and I opened the envelope. And, I did it discreetly, making sure nobody was looking in the window or nothing. So I opened the envelope. When I tell you my heart dropped like it was so bad that I looked in there and it was a crisp $20 bill. This is no lie. And a Jordan and a
My bad,
crisp
my
and
bad.
a
My
and a $5 bill, a 20 and a 5. And I was sitting there just disgusted because what
Yeah,
I said was, this is what I said, and I laugh at this now. It's hilarious to me.
yeah.
But I was so disgusted because I said, now what did they add? I said,
Right.
now were they giving me the $5 and then went back and added the 20? Or
Boy.
were they giving me the 20 and said, we really got to bless you. And I'm going to add the 5 to your 20 because $25 wasn't going to get me nothing.
That's
And
20% more.
it's 20% more. But you know what the Lord did for me is the Lord used that. I'm so grateful that he did. The Lord used that for me to break my dependency off of getting money from church. I'm just going to be honest. So
Wow.
for me, I understood from that point, and that was in the beginning of my ministry. So I understood at that point, you don't get into ministry to get rich. You don't get
Yeah.
into ministry to make money. It was really a
Mhm,
calling from God, and that's what it is. But I'm
mhm.
so glad he did that because he humbled me. And then I would go places, and sometimes you get a meal. They didn't even give
Yeah.
you no money. You getting a chicken dinner in the back. And I had to make sure that I was preaching for the right reasons. And thank God that I went through that because he began to have me look at and people bless me now. They pay me well now, so that's not a thing. But
Amen.
I look back at that and I watch how God has allowed me to look outside of the church world. And that's,
Mm.
again, tying back into this conversation where I think many of us have been expecting money to come from, brother so and so or sister so and so that and it's not coming that way.
Right.
It might just be coming from your investment that you make. And
Right.
I want our people, I want our communities to get this information because there are many people that get information and they don't share it.
Yes.
Don't tell other people because it's a crabs in a barrel mentality. It's
Mm.
like, I know it. I'm going to get rich. I'm going to get my stuff together. And I'm not telling you until I've had people do this to me. And thank God for the Holy Spirit because the Holy Spirit will show you. If you listen, he'll lead you to the right information, lead you to the right people. But
Yeah.
there are people that come in and they think, well, I know it and I'm not telling you. And I don't
Right.
want you to get any of the information. And so I'm gonna get rich off of it. Then I'm gonna tell you how rich I got from it. That's not the way. That's not a kingdom mindset. That's not the way I think. I know that's not the way you think. That's the reason why I'm on here doing this right now,
Absolutely.
because I want the information to get out to the people. Now I got all off track talking about the 20
No, you good. You good.
and the
I
chicken.
needed to hear that. I needed to hear that.
But I want you to speak. If there's anything else that you want to address, I've got a couple more questions for you. But I want to kind of open it up too, because there might be some tips and some pointers. We were talking about the Bitcoin halving that's coming,
Yeah.
and what we believe is going to happen as a result of that. That every time historically that we've seen a halving happen, it has shot up. Whether
Yeah.
it's been a year or more after, it may even come a lot quicker this time.
Yeah.
But if there's anything else that you can share regarding investing, regarding the crypto space, I want
Yeah.
to give you the floor to do that.
Yeah, I would just say I would say two things for sure. It's something called calculated risk, right? So Apostle, you just share with them like, hey, invest what you can, right? Invest what you can, but also understand what you're invested in. With the information you may have just gotten about Bitcoin, I believe that you can invest $20 a week, right? That's what I believe for you. But you still have to go in and do your homework and say, okay, I'm going to invest this much because that's my calculated risk. I've had friends who tell me, and they still do it now. I had a friend who turned $900 into 70K in a week, right? Just from throwing, what he did was he threw 900 into five cryptocurrencies. And now, in a lot of ways, he did his homework, he did his research, and he understood, like, you know what? None of these may blow up, but I know that one of them will, right? So he knew at least one would do what it needed to do, and it did, right? So he may have lost 4,000, but he made 70, right? So with that being said, is one of you just want to take calculated risks, right? Cryptocurrency has been known as the wild, wild west for a long time. So in any investment, just take a calculated risk. Take your time. Look for somebody that can help you. Go to your resources. Go to CoinDesk, right? Go to Investopedia. Go to Coinbase.com. Go to CoinMarketCap.com and just look for some things that can really help you. And I think that'll help guide you in terms of investing. Period. And I think for anybody, one thing I recently looked into because God had corrected me on a lot of different things also because whatever you mismanage, you will lose. That is a
That's right.
principle in the Bible,
That's right.
right? And one thing I did was I did study Joseph, and Joseph did this thing, and Joseph took 20%
That's it.
of everything and put it away, right? So we understand that tithing is big, all right. So tie. It's a principle, right? It's something that we must understand. But if you do foolishness with the other 90%, you will be, I don't like saying the word broke, but you will be a broke tither, right? So take
Absolutely.
your time and manage the 90%. And with doing that, you can just take 20% of that 90 and invest it, whether you put it away, whether you store it in Bitcoin. Because I think that when it comes to savings, if you're just saving it in the US dollar, you're losing money year by year. And
Right.
that's what's going to happen. So I would say make calculated risk, manage it the right way, and you will be successful. If you just implement those two different things and stay disciplined in it, you won't lose.
I'm so glad you mentioned that too,
Yeah,
because that's the same strategy the Lord gave me. And y'all know I keep referencing a book. I wrote about that strategy in prophetic forecast under the
yeah,
chapter called "The Days of Joseph Return." And the Lord spoke to me about this some 10 years ago, and I've been using this strategy. I started using that strategy
amen.
back then, which was to take 20%. That's exactly what Joseph did. It says he put away the fifth part. In scripture, you'll see it that way, which translates to 20%. So
Yeah,
he took that, put it into a storehouse, and when the famine hit, he had exactly what he needed. So I think what you're sharing is definitely on point. And I want you to speak to a few more things. One of them, I'm getting questions from people on, are there any other coins that you are looking at,
yeah.
in the crypto space? Can you speak to that?
Yeah, me personally, I do like Solana. Solana is like an Ethereum, right? And the ticker is SOL. But the reason I like Solana is because it's very similar to Ethereum. It's very popular right now. The quote unquote meme coins and all meme coins mean is that there's no real usage behind it. People are creating them and creating popularity in a brand, and people are just buying into it. That's
Right.
essentially what happened with Dogecoin. and you can be successful with that, but you want to be careful. But people are creating a lot of meme coins on Solana, NFTs. They're just building on the Solana blockchain, and a lot of stuff. A lot of it's just a lot of success, right? The biggest thing is lower gas fees because Ethereum may cost you a little bit to send funds to somebody. I remember at one point it cost like $150 to send 20. So with that being said, you want to be conscious of that, but that's why I think Solana is a great one. Cardano, ADA. I personally like XRP. A lot of people may not agree with that, but mind you, guys, these are my personal favorites. All right, this is not something. This is not financial advice, but I do love XRP. XRP to me, they're actually coming out with their own stablecoin. And stablecoin means that it's attached to the U.S. dollar, but they're doing cross-border payment systems, and they've partnered with different companies for a long time, and they beat the SEC in a lawsuit. And to me, that was absolutely big in terms of crypto
Huge.
and where it's going. So I believe in XRP. I believe in where it will go. I do like Shiba. I actually heard something about Shiba that I cannot share here, but I do like it. I'll
I
share it
can
after
give
this
you my
offline.
number and you can share it with me
I
after.
got, I got you. I got you for sure. But those are a couple. But guys, I promise you, if you just stick to the top. Don't think. I guess another thing is don't think that it's too late for Bitcoin. Just don't think that. Like that thought in your mind, I need you to erase it. Yes, it's at about 70K right now, and it's going to shoot up. But I probably you're going to see it shoot up another 30,000, whatever the case. Like I'm big on dollar cost average. Right, there are people that buy $200 worth of Bitcoin every single day, because they understand where it's going. And I think that's the biggest thing. Like, don't think you got to get into a smaller crypto just because you want a bigger bag, so to speak, right? No, take your time. Understand that Bitcoin is still numero uno.
Yeah.
It just is, and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Also, I just wanted to add this, like in investing, I would use the prophetic to your advantage. Like we have Apostle Giles here. I mean, the prophetic forecast, I tune in consistently, and I think that if we pay attention to what's being said, especially if you go and you hear God, you see what's going on, like use it to your advantage. You have to understand, like with the things that have been prophesied and what we're going to see, use it to your advantage to understand, like, okay, this is a great time for me to invest in this now because of what happened towards the future.
Yeah.
I think even you spoke about a new virus that may be coming. And so, what should we invest in now for that? I mean, there are a couple different stocks that I would suggest. These are just things to think about. And also, to what you said about people thinking about the end times and etc., and maybe kind of getting scared about this, is really about what can we do and how can we use it for the kingdom, because this blockchain thing we can build our own,
Right.
and that's the goal, honestly.
Yeah.
Even in blockchain, I know we'll get to that later, but
Yeah.
that's the goal. Is how can we do that? Because in Acts they say they have all things in common, right? And we can utilize it in that way, and maneuver it like that. So that's
Yeah,
all I
no,
have to
I man, I love that you shared that too. Now,
say.
I don't talk about it much, but I will bring that scripture to light where it says, "Believe in the Lord your God, and so shall you be established. Believe His prophets, and so shall you prosper." You
Mhm.
know, for me, at the core of what I do, I am a prophet.
Yeah,
That's who I am. That's what I've done for many many years. That's the way that the Lord has used me. The apostle thing came in the mix, with the
yeah,
planting of churches and all the things that I've been doing in that realm. And to be honest, my spiritual father had to come to me and say, "You are an apostle. We know you're a prophet, but this apostolic work is what you are called to do." I was already doing it, but I don't
Mhm.
like titles, so I didn't want the title. And those of you that know me, you know me. That's why you see flyers and you don't see no title on my flyer. You're gonna see my name up there most of the time. If you see a title, it's because a graphic designer has put it on there without my knowledge.
Right.
That's just how I am, but I know the function that I do. And I will be honest with you, over the years, and I don't uh divine or merchandise the gift. I don't do any of those things. So I don't charge people $1,000 for you to get a
Right.
prophecy for me. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
that's not the way that I operate. I don't think that that is integral. But I will say through the word of the Lord over the
Yeah.
years, I have seen the Lord give words or insight, and I'm telling you guys, no lie on this. And the Lord has allowed me to make millions of dollars
Mm.
through prophetic insight. I'm just
Mm.
telling the truth, and it's not anything that you got to do. You don't gotta go and manipulate people and try to do whatever, but literally listening to the Holy Spirit, he
Yes.
will lead you to where you need to be and what you need to do. When I got into this space, it was the Lord giving me a dream to do it. I
Yes.
made so much off of this space. When I got into real estate, the Lord gave me a word
Yeah.
saying that you're going to go and buy these properties. I said, God, I don't got no money. How am I going to buy these properties? And he literally began to walk me through how to do it. And then I began to research and read and take classes. I went back to school like twice to get degrees and
Yeah.
finding the information that I needed. And I'm sharing this because there are many of you on here and you might think, well, God, I don't know if I'm ever going to see that or if I'm ever going to get to the thing that the Lord promised me.
Yeah.
I believe that you are. That's the reason why we're on here, is to give you hope, to
Right.
give you prophetic insight, and then to give you practical knowledge on how to invest, on how to make a profit so that you are not stuck in a cycle. Your family's not stuck in a cycle of just barely making it. I believe that those generational curses of poverty are being broken, and
Amen.
it's through information because people perish for lack of knowledge.
Mm.
It's what we don't know. And
Amen.
I'm hoping that you're getting it. And I do want to do, we're going to do two things. I want to do a rapid fire question. So those of you in the comments, I want you to get your questions ready. When I say go, we're going to go to you in just a moment. So start thinking about them. But before we do that, I want you to talk a little bit about your company. You started
Okay.
a company. It's called Black Chain. I love the name.
Yes.
Love what you're doing. Tell us about it, and then also tell us if there are resources that you have that people
Yes.
can get.
Absolutely. So, Black Chain, right? And we started as the Black Chain Network. Recently transitioned to the Black Chain Foundation as a nonprofit, and it was started with the mission to make true effective change in communities of color and underprivileged communities everywhere. Right. So, what do we mean by that? It was built on the legacy of the Greenwood District in Tulsa, Oklahoma, otherwise known as Black Wall Street. It was the example that showcased how people coming together, bringing their resources together, right, and just working together created a booming economy that surpassed even the United States economy, which is why it was bombed at the time, right? Back then, a dollar circulated, I believe, 36 to 100 times in that specific community, and it just showcased again the power behind it. So seeing what was going on in the world, and even some things I dealt with personally, being from St. Louis, Missouri, being in college, going through racism, all that stuff, or regardless, even just a heart for the world, it was a very, it started out as a very radical project to just come together and create a place to where we can build on this blockchain, exchange currency with each other, do business with each other, while giving 10% of whatever purchase or the coins purchase or the tokens purchase to the community, right? And that was going to be through other nonprofits. So it's definitely a very big kingdom principle of 10% going to rebuild the community. And it trickles down through our nonprofit, through the other nonprofits, in a very great vetting system. And that's something that we're fixed on. We're fixed on and convicted to build, right? Because building a blockchain, we have the token. It's called the blockchain token. It's built on the
Wow.
Binance blockchain. But our own blockchain, we're big on ownership. We're big on having that for us. And then we can create a whole new world economy by helping people and building wealth at the same time. And I think the easiest way to showcase this and how we can get people on immediately for me was, well, we saw, I'm just going to be honest, Nike made $30 billion from just saying they're with Cap, right? Colin Kaepernick. They made 30 billion. And most of that money came from the black community. Now, if we get the kingdom community together, right, and build on this blockchain and invite other people that want to support the black community or other different things to say, hey, if you really want to support us building this blockchain and build NFTs, build tokens, build applications, build these different things, and transact on this blockchain, what will that do for our community? What would that do for the kingdom? What would that do in turn, as we see that? Because there's the transactions fees are always going to be there. But now we know where the money is going. And the thing is, we can see it on the blockchain. Everything is transparent, right? Nothing is hidden, right? It's all immutable, so you can't take it back. This is something you can see on a worldwide distributed ledger. And all that means is like a very big pocketbook. You can see everything on it. That's
Yeah.
all ledger means. And it brings that trust and that circulation back. So we were fixed on creating that. But the biggest thing we have to do right now is educate, because that's where our marketing, our community, they needed to know. You know, you got the case of fear when the thing with FTX happened, Apostle Webb. He just got convicted, I think, of like 25 years, but
Wow.
he committed fraud. Cryptocurrency wasn't the fraud. He just
Exactly.
committed fraud.
Yeah.
And it's like, crypto's a fraud. No, you just got to know what you're doing, and you take your time. So right now, one of the things we're doing now, we're hosting conferences like the NFT Fashion Showcase. We actually plan to have one in Atlanta.
Okay.
And another thing we're doing is we're building a learn to earn platform.
Okay.
And you said something about children, and the foundation is going to be geared to help children get on the platform entirely for free, right? But also going to open it up for anybody that wants to learn about crypto, decentralized financial literacy, but also financial literacy in any capacity. Bringing on influencers, bringing on people much like yourself to come on and just share in the knowledge that they may have, so you can learn. But guess what? You'll be earning cryptocurrency. You'll be earning blockchain.
Yeah. I
And
believe you. I believe you invited me to speak at some point at
yeah,
an event that you were doing, and I really wanted to do it at the time.
yeah,
Could not work it out to do it, but I will do it in the future. I'll
absolutely.
come because I love what you're building. I love what you're doing, and it means so much for our communities and just all people from all backgrounds to be able to get in with this. There's one thing I want to do, and I want to bring you back on.
Okay.
So I want to do a part two to this class in a couple of weeks. I want to bring you on after the halving so we can kind of talk about it. And maybe one of the things that we can do is kind of walk people through certain charts. We can maybe have some visuals that we put up and
Yeah.
actually kind of walk them through showing certain patterns that are happening within the crypto markets and with certain coins, kind of looking more specifically at it. What I think we're gonna do this part two. How many of y'all want a part two? Just comment if you want that, because he's got the knowledge. I want the knowledge in our space, and I want
Absolutely.
us to really get it out to you, to everybody that wants to hear it. If it's helping you, we want to push further into it. I don't know if you have any. Do you have any books, resources yet that you?
No, no, no. I do have a Bitcoin breakthrough guide.
Okay.
I do have that. I can send you the link, but that is a comprehensive guide to help anybody invest in cryptocurrency, invest in Bitcoin, understand Bitcoin, make money in Bitcoin. You'll understand what a wallet is. You'll know a lot of different things from this guide. I even have a class involved in it of a video I did live, just talking about cryptocurrency and putting it in layman's terms and how blockchain even came about.
Oh, nice.
So I'll definitely I can send you that link. Um,
Please. So if you send me the link, I'm going to post it to all of the people that are on here. So everybody that's on, we're going to make sure you get the link. You'll be able to get in contact with him even through that way as well.
for sure.
And then people are saying, please write a book, write a book, write a book, write a book. I think
Will
you
do.
should. I don't think that there are enough people in the space that are young, person of color, that
Mm,
is doing it from a kingdom perspective. So, over the next maybe year or two, I would encourage you, Jordan, to develop a book. Please develop some sort of resource on it, where you can, not even so much just dealing with what's happening now, but speaking to the future of things, where it's going, how people can get in on that. From a kingdom perspective, I think it would be really good. What I would do if you write a book on it, I will introduce you to my agent who might want to shop your book to some well-known publishers that would
absolutely.
really get you out there. And the reason why I say this, and y'all have heard me on here, those of you that are are partners, and I bring guests on. I've introduced so many people to my literary agent. So many people have gotten deals behind the scenes. It's just the truth. I'm like, look, you need to give them a deal. Let's get this person because I want the way that my mind is wired is it's all about the kingdom. It's all about, I think there is room for everybody at the table. We don't have to try to put one down in order to build ourselves up. And when we begin to think in terms of how can we help the body of Christ, we need everybody's gift, and your gift, Jordan, is valuable. What you do, the insight that you have, I know God's going to expand it, over the next several months and years. I know it's going to expand, but it's valuable. So I'm encouraging you to write a book, push something out there, and
Will do.
I'll definitely talk to you after so that we can push on that because you need those kinds of resources to
Yeah.
get into the hands of people in other states or countries that you might not even go to, but your material can travel there. So
Amen. Amen. I received that greatly. Thank you very much. I really do.
awesome, man. Well, I'm gonna ask a few more questions. We're getting ready to do a rapid fire, and then we're gonna let you go because we've been on here too long. One question is, uh, uh, what do you see? How do you see AI intersecting with crypto? And is there any digital currency or project that's tied to AI that you are watching right now?
There actually are loads of AI and crypto projects right now. There are. I forget the exact name of the one that comes to mind. I think I have the coin on my wallet, so I could check it.
Okay.
But it is actually one of those things to where yes, it's going to be used. There are going to be artificial intelligence technologies that will require you to use their coin, that will require you to use their token, so to speak, when you get on their platform, when you interact with it, all those different things, and that's a lot of that. In a lot of ways, that's how they will interact, right? It's like if you have a chat bot and you want to use AI, they may say, "Hey, instead of paying this amount, we need X amount of Bitcoin or X amount of so and so," and that transaction fee will just take place. I can even picture it as okay, when AI does a job for you, you pay in cryptocurrency immediately, and through the smart contract, the AI immediately executes the job for you. Those are some things that can just happen, off the top of my head from even thinking about it. But yes, the AI is heavily already tied into crypto. They're going to work together in a lot of different ways. And even that will be, interesting and exciting to see.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great answer to that. Now I'm just going to go through a few rapid fire questions. So if you guys got questions, this is the time to put it in the chat. If you already posted a question, post it again. Someone's asking, how do you tune in to the prophetic forecast every Monday? Where you been? Every Monday. I mean, there are times I don't come on, but every Monday on YouTube, on my YouTube page, which is Joshua Giles Ministries, and the same thing on Facebook Live. So it comes on, it's simulcast to those both of those pages on Mondays, typically at between noon and 1 p.m.
Yeah.
On Mondays. And then you asking about the book, you can get it anywhere. Books for Soul, Prophetic Forecast, and then also Mantle for Greatness is the latest one that's out. Let's see, other questions coming up. Well, we got that one answered. Some of you, your questions may have already been answered. If it is, I'll kind of redirect you. How do we use crypto to set up group economics with friends and family?
Um, that you can actually create pools, right? So they have these things called pools that you can create.
Okay.
Investor pools. If you guys want to get together and invest in different in cryptocurrencies, you can do that. Um, if you guys want to come together and say, hey, there's actually a family that they pulled money together right on their own, and they just invested, I think, a certain amount of money in the Shiba Inu before anybody even knew about it, and that thing grew to like $900 million overnight.
Wow.
And that's something that they just did together. So you guys can say, hey, let's take $20 each and let's invest in this crypto. Let's take $500 each and let's invest in Bitcoin each month. That is something very simple you can do. There are also pools that you can do together. I have a very great friend. Um, his name is Akechi. He created something called Tribal, and they have investor pools where people can come together and just invest in even new startups, new projects that are coming out. It's so much that you can do when it comes to that aspect of different things. But if you guys can just come together and say, hey, let's decide on this crypto. You guys believe in Bitcoin. I encourage you guys to do so,
Okay.
because it's just help in the long run, and it do a lot of it expand. It'll definitely expand.
Awesome. I think that's great information, great insight. Ruth
Yeah.
is asking, how do you feel about AI predictive models?
I think when it comes to AI and these predictive models, and I believe she's talking about as far as how they'll predict just different things coming in the future with
Right.
trading, etc. I think they're okay, but you can't rely on them, because no matter what, the market is going to shift how it shifts.
Yeah.
And what they do is they go by these different strategies. And what I've seen, what a lot of these AI bots and these models is that they may have a strategy, but their strategy won't last for long due to something that happens or changes in the market. So you can never rely on it,
Right. It's
because
like algorithms that people are using, but
exactly,
the changes do come to the market. So you're having to constantly adjust those algorithms to,
exactly.
yeah, to keep up.
Exactly. So you're going to have to teach the AI regardless, because it's still learning. You have to teach it, and with the swings and the motion of the market, just don't. Just they're okay to use for a while, but don't rely on them forever. Please don't, because you will not be happy. You won't be happy.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Someone else is saying they're new to crypto. Where did they start? We're going to make sure we get you the link. Laura, I see you asking that. We're going to get you the link and the information on how to start with crypto. Let's see if we can squeeze a few more questions in. Let's see. So many comments here, y'all. I'm trying to find the questions. Can you give practical steps, resources? For example, how do you transition your finances to where we are going into the future and when? Especially want to know what to do before the US dollar crashes as well.
Collapses.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the biggest thing with that, we know it's going to crash, and we see what's going on with the country. We see
right.
what's happening in terms of BRICS. Um,
Yeah, I wanted to
yeah,
talk about that. Yeah,
yeah,
speak on it, man. Speak on
it's
it.
a lot happening. Even they're trying to destroy the U.S. dollar. Uh,
Yeah,
Absolutely, there's an attack. That this is essentially to me is a war, because that's what's going
right,
on. And when we talk about the transition, because of what we're going to go through, I'm not going to tell you to get rid of all your cash.
right,
I'm
right.
not going to tell you to do that right now. I will tell you to just start transitioning into the safest bet, and I'm going to keep saying it, is Bitcoin, because it is a store of value. That's Bitcoin's biggest use case, is that it's a store of value. It's like digital gold. That's why people like it. So right now is a great time to put your money in Bitcoin. Right
Yeah,
now, even when it comes, they have something called stable coins, which is pegged or attached to the US dollar, meaning that again, we talk about the dollar going down, but you can start transitioning your currency into the digital dollar, which it would be USDT, USD coin. Even the XRP ledger has created their own stable coin. But I would just say take your time, and like don't think you have to just dump everything over it, because we're not there just yet, but we will be getting to that place. And I think you will see it, and you will start, especially when the banks start having issues more and more. Those
right.
are kind of give you some cues like, hey, okay, the bank runs are happening, all this stuff is happening. And they kind of let you know what needs to be done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you hit on something that we got to bring back in part two because we
Okay.
don't have the time to go into the whole BRICS uh,
Yeah.
nations concept. And I've been talking about it for a while. I actually posted it just maybe yesterday in the email that I sent out to our partners. But you know what the BRICS nations are doing is they are trying to, then they are vocal about it. It's not anything that they're hiding. It's not something that they are just doing under the radar. They are vocal about taking down the American dollar.
Yes.
And the leader of China actually mentioned this um, a few months ago, that
Okay.
he announced it at their Belt and Road initiative that they do every year, where all of these nations come together. And if you all aren't familiar with this, you need to get familiar with it. He did
Yes.
a speech. You add a lot of key nations there supporting it.
Yes.
And the phrase that bothered me, which confirms the prophetic words that have been released for the past several years, now we can see it. You know, a blind person can see it now. It's not even something hidden, but he announced that this is the end of the American dollar era, is what he announced at that initiative. It was in his speech. All of the other countries that were associated applauded it, that they are no longer using the dollar as his reserve currency, as the reserve currency for the world. They're saying it's the end of the dollar. What does that mean? I don't think people really get what that means. But if the dollar goes down, our country is downgraded. And you see it in certain nations in South America where their economy collapsed. I've seen it in Africa where the economy collapsed. Everything went with it.
Mhm.
That should be a concern, and we can't, in the church world, we can't avoid these conversations because everybody wants to label it fear mongering. We
Mhm.
can't avoid these conversations because people don't want to face it and address it. You know, for years, when I was prophesying about, this is going back 7, 10 years, about, I saw the collapse of the dollar, I saw these things happening, and the Lord was giving strategy on it. You know, it didn't even really, phase me because I didn't have no money. So it didn't, Jordan, seriously, it didn't.
Yeah, yeah, I feel
I didn't
you.
realize it until
Yeah, I feel
I was
you.
putting on a show some years
Yeah,
later. And by that time, I had some millions of dollars. So some years later, I was going on a show for real. And I get to the show, and the person who's hosting me pulls me behind the scenes and said, "Look, I'm a very wealthy person. And I won't give you guys too much detail or you'll figure it out. But they said I'm a very wealthy person. They told me how much they had. I can't remember how many million. It was something like $100 million. Crazy. And they
yeah,
said, this is how much I have. I need to know what to do with my money. They said, because you've been prophesying that the dollar is going to collapse, and you've been telling us. And at that time, we hadn't seen any real bank closures, like significant bank closures. But I had given the word of the Lord on it. And he said, you're telling me that banks are going to start collapsing? This doesn't make sense. Nah, nah, nah,
yeah,
nah. Where do I put my money? And what do I do? And I was sitting there like, man, I didn't realize how much so many people, until you have something, or you got, money or inheritance or property or whatever,
yes,
if the dollar collapses in that way, you're talking about pure pandemonium in a sense in our
yeah,
country, where people that are expecting to live off of their 401k gone.
yes,
People that, I mean, think about it. Retirement, what you would be getting to live off of, gone.
gone.
What you saved up for years, gone.
Yeah,
Money completely worthless. We need to begin to prepare for that. But the BRICS nations are pushing, and what I've been hearing is that they are trying to launch a BRICS currency right now,
yeah,
that those nations will use in to replace the dollar. And
yeah, definitely.
there are many American economists that are saying, "Oh, that's nothing. They're not going to be successful in it." I think that they are just trying to keep people in a state of false peace in
Yes,
the country, because they've got a lot of support. They have
yes,
a lot of people behind them. They got a lot of nations behind them. And right now, unfortunately, the momentum is behind them.
yes,
Like, there are countries that I've gone to in Africa that are switching over,
yeah,
and they're joining BRICS. There are leaders of nations, and I don't know if there are some of them are on here watching this, or sneaking in and seeing it, but there are leaders of nations, prime ministers, that are requesting meetings with me. This is true story, and I don't say this to brag or anything, because I haven't even done the meetings. But there are prime ministers that are requesting meetings with me because they want to know, what is the word of the Lord saying? Do they stick with the dollar, or
yeah.
do they transition over and join up with China? And I've
Wow.
been saying, God, I cannot instruct. I need to hear from you, and I need the clarity to know what I'm hearing, because what the information and advice that you're giving will affect millions of people in a country. And if
Mhm.
they trust the prophetic voice, and you get on and tell them, do this or don't do this, switch this, stick with the dollar or don't. That's a huge thing. So I've really been praying, and in times of consecration, to try to really hear God clearly on how to instruct. And I've given words to government leaders and stuff for years. So that's not the thing, but it is the how crucial this is. it's a problem. It's a problem. So
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to speak on that before we.
Yeah, I think you spoke on something earlier. I think right the safest place to put your money, um, if you especially if you have a great amount, is real estate. Um, I think that regardless of what will happen with the U.S. dollar, one thing that will not change is the value of your property,
Right,
because people are going to always need a place to stay. So if you're somebody with that amount, definitely look at real estate. Now, again, tokenization is going to happen. Okay, so when you have your money in assets that can easily be tokenized or that already are tokenized, that tells me that you still have your money. Because I do think that the US dollar, it will go down, but even Bitcoin, again, is a store of value.
right,
So if we just place our money in the right places and we have enough we can live off of and take care of different things, take care of expenses, etc. If I don't believe the credit will be the same in the future. I
no,
think that we can take advantage of it now because I just think we can. I think we can use it greatly to our advantage and understand that we don't have to have loads of cash sitting in the bank. We can
right,
have it sit in a place where it's safe and that it's continuing to make money. Um, I think somebody asked about coming together as a family, doing family pools. Well, how about you guys put it into a real estate property or a multifamily? And just do come up with plans like that to where the money is into assets and not just money because it's about the asset. Bitcoin itself is an asset. It's a digital asset class. Stocks are an asset class, right? We spoke about farmland and the kingdom government summer. That's an asset class. So under just understanding all that, I think is very big. And we like seeing money in the bank.
right, right.
A lot of the really like big money people I've met, like they rarely have cash on them. Maybe like $500 in the bank. I've literally seen that, and they've lived off credit, and that's it. And it's one of those things to where, you know, obviously it's great to have cash, but if you really want it to be safe, put it in assets to protect yourself. And I think that in that time, as you transition over and you do that, and you accumulate, your wealth will remain. While some people may dwindle because they leave it, they believe and they have faith in this dollar that is purely collapsing. So
Yeah,
I think that's a
yeah.
big thing. So I
Well,
hope that helps. Yeah.
it does, and you, man, you've done such an amazing job with, helping push this conversation. And I'm gonna check with you and check your schedule maybe for April 27th. So it's going to the end of the month, Saturday, to
Yeah.
see if we can do a part two on that day and get everybody back on. I want those that are new, you beginners in this. Hopefully, you will have started, and those that have taken strategies from this, and maybe you're making pivots or you're changing the way that you're approaching this. I want to hear from you guys when we come on with the part two, maybe towards the end of the month. Again, I'm going to look at April 27th, that Saturday, to see what we can pull together if that works. But thank you guys. And I'm seeing some good conversation going on in the chat. I see several of you all are asking questions, and some of you who know your stuff, you chiming in. Derek, I see you on here. You've been really helping and adding to the conversation.
Mm.
So thank you, and everybody else that's been on here doing that as well. But we got to close it on this note, man. This has
All
been
right.
so good. We appreciate you, and thank you so much for just adding to this conversation. And when we get the link and the information from Jordan, I'm going to post it right here on our partners page. And for those of you that are in the mentorship group, I'm going to post that for you guys so you can get it. And he'll have ways that you can contact his social media and all of that on there as well. And we'll make sure that you get the information.
Yes,
All right. Well,
absolutely. I appreciate you greatly, Apostle. Thank you all for having me. I'm excited. This is an honor to be on here, and look forward to continue to grow the relationship and collaborate as much as possible.
absolutely. Well, listen, we pray blessings over everybody, that you take the information and you apply it, that God gives you wisdom and strategy and insight, and that you will break generational curses of poverty and begin to release generational wealth and blessings within your life and within your family. I command your mindsets to open and to shift, to grab a hold to this kingdom mindset and the principles of the word of God in Jesus' name.
Jesus.
Amen. All right, everybody. I'll
Amen.
see you all back on next time.